Hey everyone, my name's Benjamin and welcome to my book club. More and more, I seem to be finding that the second book in a trilogy is my favourite. And I think the same might end up being true here. Golden Sun by Pierce Brown, book 2 in the Red Rising trilogy, is genuinely one of the greatest books I've read in a very, very long time. Let's jump right in. I usually try and keep my reviews mostly spoiler-free, but for this one, I'm just going to slap a giant spoiler warning right on the front. If you haven't read Red Rising, check out my Red Rising review. It's mostly spoiler-free, I believe. And if you have read Red Rising and you're thinking of whether you should continue Golden Sun, the answer is yes. This book is fantastic. You should absolutely continue. But beyond there, I think, this way, spoilers be. So you've been warned. Alright, if you're still here, hopefully you know the story of the book, but a quick recap. We follow ℓ𝕬𝕳 again in this book as he kicks off essentially a civil war within the society, bringing the tensions between House Augustus and House Bologna really to the forefront and sparking off actual conflict among the Golds. It's a fantastic plan that comes together. It's kind of spur of the moment at the gala where he forces both sides into conflict, where they basically have no choice but to play into exactly what he wants them to do, which is to fight with each other. And it's written so wonderfully, and the duel between Cassius and ℓ𝕬𝕳 is so fantastically written. It's one of my favourite one-on-one combat scenes I've ever read, and it's tense and lovely, and the reveal that he's been training with Lorne was fantastic. I've read some complaints that it kind of came out of nowhere, and I don't think it did. I think it's hinted at throughout the first couple chapters where he's quoting Lorne. He talks about Lorne a bit more, and obviously it hints that he's not going to operas and stuff with Roke and Mustang because he's busy training with Lorne. And I thought it came out really well, and the reveal in the duel was really fun. I have to admit that when I finished Red Rising and I kind of learned what the Academy was, that the Academy was, where you go to learn space combat, where you go to learn to lead fleets and ships, and that was going to be another kind of battle royale. I was super excited to read a battle royale book set in space with fleets of ships. And I assumed that when he wrote Red Rising, his intention was to write that book next, continue in the battle royale space. And so I have to admit, the first couple pages when I realized that we opened the book at the very end of that battle royale, I was kind of really disappointed. And then Pierce Brown just kind of slapped me around a bit for a while and just said, no, look, that might have been the book you wanted, but this, Golden Sun, this is the book you need. And he's so right. He's managed to pull the story out of the battle royale genre and make it a fully fledged space opera. We get so many more characters, we get sprawling political groups, we get factions and splinter groups, we get great motivations, the characters and alliances and groups all act to their own benefits. I don't really think there was any character here that I thought didn't play to their own strengths. This was a great example of thinking I knew what I wanted, but what I actually wanted was this. Look, jumping into the specific things I liked, the characters, obviously, Pierce Brown writes fantastic characters. The character work in Red Rising was great, and in Golden Sun it's twice as good. They're all a step up. They all have left the Institute now and have faced with the real world and the responsibilities and reality of that. Gone are the semi-simple motivations of the Institute of just needing to win. It was easy to follow ℓ𝕬𝕳 in the Institute because you were pretty sure he was going to win. But now in the real world, ℓ𝕬𝕳 is not the most important person here. ℓ𝕬𝕳 is not the strongest person here. He's not the most skilled. He's not the smartest. So do those alliances that you built in the Institute, do they mean anything in the real world now? And so we have a lot of characters that you thought you knew in the first book becoming these sort of dark horses now when they're faced with the responsibilities of their family and position against the loyalty with their friends. And then the action in this book is just remarkable. Action scenes in books can be hit or miss. I don't know if I've read sci-fi action scenes as good as this one. The duel between ℓ𝕬𝕳 and Cassius, as I said, is amazing. The Iron Rain near the end of the book and everything with the invasion of Mars is just to die for. It's just so well written, so evocative. It's so well paced that it just jumps off the page, and I just couldn't put the book down. And it's so clearly written that I never have an issue trying to understand what's happening. I don't have an issue picturing the combat in my head or figuring out where in the room everyone was when these things happened. And the pacing of the book means we're almost constantly going from action to action. We're just hitting these strengths again and again and again. And you basically just strap in and hold on for dear life as we race through this story. And the writing is superb. One of the best examples, I think, of show don't tell that I've read. We see things, again, still from the first-person perspective of Darrow. In some first-person books, I think we could get bogged down in repeating things too often. You know, Darrow will have a conversation with Roke where they make a plan, and then we'll go and execute that plan. And so we kind of just see things twice. You know, we hear them talking about the plan, and then we hear them doing the plan. Here, we mostly skip over a lot of that planning stage and just jump right into the action. And maybe in the hands of a less skilled author, this would feel jarring or like we're just jumping all over the place. But here, Pierce Brown just pulls it off perfectly. And that just keeps the book flowing page to page to page. Pierce Brown knows what he writes well, and he sticks to writing those things. He doesn't get bogged down in stuff that I guess he doesn't feel as comfortable with. And so it just gives me one of the most, I have to keep reading, I can't put this book down, I'm staying up till 3 a.m. reading. I get that feeling more than I've gotten in a book in a long time. And the ending. That ending is just crushing. Roke's betrayal at the end. Pierce Brown foreshadows Roke's betrayal really well. Almost heavily-handed to the point where it becomes so obviously something you should be worried about that it seems unlikely that he's going to pull the trigger. So that when he does, it's even more shocking than if it had come out of nowhere. I always thought that Darrow and Roke were going to mend the relationship somehow, but the reveal of the ending is so heartbreaking. I think I put the book down. I just couldn't believe what was happening. It just knocked the air out of my lungs, and I felt soul-crushing despair. It's a masterclass on how to write betrayal. It's a masterclass on how to build these characters and relationships up so that the betrayal just hits so hard. I could go on and on and on and on about how good I think this book is, and if you talk to me about it, I probably would. As for things I didn't like, there's really not much to talk about. A lot of the stuff I didn't like in Red Rising is mostly solved here. Darrow is a smarter character in this book than he was in the first book, I think. To an extent, I still wish there was more of a reason that he was trusting the Jackal the whole time. And I kind of wish that he'd been smarter about the way he dealt with Pliny. And Darrow's sort of like plot armor from the first book, where it kind of felt like he couldn't fail, feels, one, not as present here. Darrow does have failures. And two, when he has these big successes, it feels more earned in the narrative. More that he is the protagonist because he survived these things, rather than he's the protagonist so he has to survive these things. There's a few points where it kind of felt like, oh, you wrote Darrow into this situation and then he kind of just got out of it because he's the main character. Mainly probably like the mud stuff where they go onto the lake and he gets stuck in the mud. That bit annoyed me. It just seems a bit convenient that he can escape the suit, he can get back to the surface, he can save Ragnar, he can save basically all the main characters that matter, and he can get up to the surface, and the enemy that defeated them there have just basically left some just dumb NPC guards in place, like 10 or something. If they were still hanging around, then he'd just be dead. There's 100 different ways he could have died in that scene, but it's one scene and it's mostly fine. Apart from that, I don't really have any complaints. Golden Sun is an easy 10 out of 10 for me. This is one of the best books I've read in a long time, and I think it's going to stick with me for a very long time. I'm really excited to see what happens in book 3, and I'd love to hear in the comments from people that have read book 4, is it worth continuing after this point? It definitely feels like this was written as a trilogy. Does book 4 continue on? Does it stay good? Does it dip a bit in quality, or does it kind of power on through to the end? I think I'm definitely going to read the remaining, I think there's 4 books, 3 out, 1 still coming. But yeah, I'd love to hear what you thought. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Golden Sun. A damn near perfect book. If you want to check out my other reviews, the playlist is right up here. I'd love if you could leave a like or a subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. I'm going to jump right into Morningstar, and my review for that will be coming out in the coming weeks. So remember to keep reading.